Welcome back to the Fantasy Headliners, guys. I'm your host, Ryan O'Connell. We're getting ready to dive into another best ball mock draft. Going to take a little bit more of a redraft approach for you guys to give you some better insight. We do have some updated rankings, some recent news with some recent holdouts, talking about Mr. Big Chest out there who's talking about holding out all because of a dumb helmet. If he can't use his beloved helmet, he might just quit football. I mean, what else is going on in the football besides Antonio Brown has lost his dang mind, guys? So definitely a lot of updated rankings. You got Melvin Gordon, you got Zeke, you got a couple injuries and suspensions going on. So just some things to pay attention to. These best ball mock drafts are going to give you a more accurate representation of where players are going. So it's definitely something to pay attention to, especially when you got skin in the game. So coming off the board in 1.1, would not shock me to see Saquon Barkley, but I don't really like that pick. Okay, or David Johnson. That completely threw me for a loop. I love him in that Arizona Cardinals offense and that air raid offense, but number one overall, that's a reach. Saquon Barkley, normally the 1.1 overall, don't like his offense. See him struggling. Definitely going to reduce his overall upside because of the lack of TD production with that offense struggling at time to time. McCaffrey going at the 1.3 makes a lot of sense. He's currently my 1.1 based on Zeke's holdout. Kamara followed by Hopkins. And who will be next should be Adams. Now, if we get Zeke at the 1.9, this is where your strategy comes in play, your risk tolerance, if you will. Because if I can get Zeke in the 9th to pair up with someone like Julio Jones or Odell Beckham Jr., I'm going to do it all day. I mean, Jerry Jones has already said he's going to get a deal done with Zeke. And Jerry Jones has about as much money as Bill Gates. So the fact he said he's going to get a deal done and pay these guys gives me a little bit more confidence, even though it's a little bit of a gamble. I'm willing to do that in best ball or redraft leagues because it just makes too much sense. I could simply win the league right here. Unfortunately, Stack 066 timed out and took him by default. Damn shame. But, hey, I mean, that's kind of what happens at times. People do crazy things. You got to be on the top of your toes. You got to be fluid and be able to pivot based on the information given to you. So, at the 1.9, I'm going to take Julio Jones. I love being on the turn as of right now in redraft and best ball. There's just so much elite talent still left over. Yeah, you don't get the premier guys that you really want, but stacking Julio Jones with like James Conner, Ty Gurley, Tyreek Hill, I mean, those are just some awesome options as a 1-2 punch to really start your team off for the 2019 season. For me, I said I'm going to go more redraft approach, and in redraft, I feel like, especially on the turn, what you guys can need to do, you're going to need to take a more balanced approach. This is definitely going to give me some kind of a advantage over the rest of the teams because I have elite talent at both the running back and wide receiver position to start my team off very well balanced. I definitely like that a lot. But what I have to also keep in mind in these best ball leagues, I have to start 3 wide receivers. So something I will address later in the draft. If you guys do not know, here at the Fantasy Headliners, we are definitely a wait on QB type of team over here. It doesn't make sense, especially in those redraft leagues. I mean, the value is outrageous this year. Matt Ryan going in the 9th, 10th round sometimes. He's going to be elite talent you can get very late in the draft, not to mention guys like Cam Newton, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, all could be viable options to easily outproduce their current ADPs, something to pay attention to. Todd Gurley going in the 2nd round. Yes, there's arthritis to definitely, kind of worry about, but if we can get him at 75% of what he did last year, definitely elite talent. Taking him in the 2nd round, I don't mind that kind of risk. Ooh, I almost forgot. Nick Chubb. We have officially freed the Chubb. Duke Johnson is gone. Nick Chubb's ADP should be rising. I know his fantasy football production and his upside is definitely rising. I mean, my Chubb's kind of rising talking about it. he is definitely we're someone very excited about in that Cleveland Browns offense. I know it's kind of ridiculous to say, but pairing him up with Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Davis Njoku, and it's all ran by Baker Mayfield. It's going to be a high-scoring offense, and Nick Chubb is definitely going to get his chance to be the workhorse in that offense. Very excited to see what he can do there. I would not be surprised to see his ADP get pushed up closer to the first early second round, maybe late first if you guys got someone biased on him. Damian Williams, I'm not touching him anymore. I used to be very high on him, but Andy Reid just said they're going to go running back by committee. Makes me want to puke in my mouth because all my shares I have on him. Antonio Brown, Mr. Big Chest, is turning into Mr. Big Headache there in Oakland Brown, with the Oakland Raiders, excuse me. I want no part of him. He's a 31-year-old diva. He has a foot fungus or frostbite or something crazy going on with his feet, and whenever there's a problem with a wide receiver's feet, I want no part of it. Now he's talking about possibly quitting football if he can't use his beloved helmet from last year. I don't get it. Just go out there and play the game of football. But Antonio Brown maybe is taking one too many hits to the head. Who really knows what's going on with him? It's kind of crazy. Definitely some pause for the cause, and I'm not touching him with a 10-foot pole in fear that I might catch whatever his feet have. Right now, I see two guys I really like, T.Y. Hilton and Amari Cooper. I'm going to have to snag my guy T.Y. Hilton. Maybe I can pair him up with Andrew Luck later in the draft. I do not mind taking Amari Cooper here either. Maybe I can get both. But the reason, well, there goes that idea. The reason why I like T.Y. Hilton a little bit more than Amari Cooper is the tempo in the Colts offense. Whenever you see me guys doing these recordings, you'll always hear me talk about tempo. And tempo, hold on one second. Let's see what we got here. Oh my God. Oh, this is disgusting. I don't even know if I want to do it. All right, well, gambling for upside here, because I have to take into effect that it is a best ball league, so I'm trying to win, but it's also redraft. So if I'm getting Melvin Gordon in the 4th round, I'm going to have to take a gamble on the upside. Hopefully gets signed and he stays with the LA Chargers. They can figure all that out before the start of the season. Even if he misses a couple games, that's my optimistic approach. I wasn't loving the value there. I could have definitely went another wide receiver given the format, but I wanted to go a more redraft approach. And in redraft, I'm gambling. I'm taking the upside in Melvin Gordon there in the 4th round. But what I was talking about before, tempo. When I'm looking at the Indianapolis Colts, the reason why I love them so much, not only are they kind of a hometown favorite of mine, but they were second in the league in offensive plays ran last year. So what that means, the more plays you run, the more chance for fantasy football production. So getting someone who's going to be a key part of that offense like T.Y. Hilton is just going to give him a safer floor with more upside, great chemistry with Andrew Luck. Like I said, maybe I can target that later in the draft. So that's just kind of my thought process. When I talk about tempo, that's why it's a big factor for me. Higher paced teams like this air raid offense, what it's supposed to be in Arizona Cardinals, has definitely got me excited, not only for Kyler Murray, but David Johnson. The 1.1, little ridiculous, but definitely like that upside. He's definitely going to be a top 5 or 6 back, depending on what happens with Melvin Gordon and if we can get him signed before the start of the season. Definitely something to pay attention to. David Montgomery, a rookie I love going in these middle rounds. If I had to choose a rookie running back to target, David Montgomery is going to be the back I'm going to target. I'm not targeting Josh Jacobs. He's a fade for me. I think David Montgomery is a more talented back in a more ideal situation, easier strength of schedule, better coach and Coach Nagy, a vertical offense. He's going to be involved in the passing game, and you got to believe with his size and caliber that he's going to be involved around the goal line. So I'd much rather have him than Josh Jacobs, who's going much earlier than him. So just some food for thought for you guys when targeting these rookie running backs. Chris Godwin, I love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should have to pass a butt ton this year, so him and Evans, yeah, their coach already said Chris Godwin's not coming off the field. If that's the case, then Mike Evans is definitely not. Maybe they'll even play defense for him with how terrible that defense is going to be. Chris Carson, I don't know how to really feel about him. I definitely think he's elite talent, but I definitely see Rashard Penny kind of pushing for some more carries in that offense. They're going to give him a little bit more extra looks this year, I feel like. So Chris Carson's someone I'm not really looking to target. It's kind of like this Denver backfield with Philip Lindsay, Royce Freeman, Theo Riddick, Devontae Booker. Yeah, it's going to be a running back by committee. Whenever those running back backfields get a little bit crowded, I tend to stay away. It's something I don't want any part of. And to be honest, the Denver Broncos backfield could be more complicated than the New England Patriots, and that's saying a lot. Now, in these half-point PPR leagues, Sony Michel is someone I definitely like. I don't mind taking him here just to give myself a little bit more depth, and that's really going to allow me to focus on my wide receivers and tight ends because I got 3 solid running backs early, secured that position for my team as I move forward. Just seeing what's available here. Gotta love that. I dodged 2 people that I wasn't really interested in, and my guy and Tyler Lockett is available. Huge value for you guys in best ball or redraft. He's going to be the number 1 wide receiver. We saw how much of a vertical threat he was with Russell Wilson last year. And now Doug Baldwin is gone. Yes, we have DK Metcalf that could definitely help stretch the field, but it could also open things up for Tyler Lockett. And given the chemistry with him and Russell Wilson, I see him getting peppered with a lot of targets and going in the 6th round. I do not mind that for my 3rd wide receiver off the board. Like I said here, guys, I'm going for a more redraft approach, and as you can see here, definitely well balanced. 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers through the first 6 rounds. Kind of recap my team here real quick. Scroll down and see what we got. Got James Conner, Melvin Gordon, Julio Jones, T.Y. Hilton, Tyler Lockett, with Sony Michel as my flex option or bye-week fill-in. Definitely don't hate that. And I still see talented tight ends like Hunter Henry and O.J. Howard still available. So maybe I get lucky and I get one of these players to fall to me in these later rounds. That's kind of the approach that I'm taking. One more guy I want to touch upon, Tyler Boyd. He just went off the screen there. His value is severely underrated. With the injury to A.J. Green, I definitely see that being a reoccurring problem. Like I said, anytime you have injury with your feet and the wide receivers, it's definitely pause for the cause, something you want to avoid. So even though Tyler Boyd was more efficient when A.J. Green was on the field, once he got hurt, we saw Tyler Boyd's target share just shoot through the roof, and that could definitely be the case for 2019. Going in the, middle 6th round, definitely a solid wide receiver 2, 3, whatever you need for your team, who's going to pretty much easily outproduce his ADP, especially if he gets peppered with those targets like I think he will, based on the lack of targets and lack of weapons in that offense. Tevin Coleman, another great value for you guys, especially in PPR formats. Now, this guy, Tevin Coleman's going to get the first crack at the RB1 position in a Shanahan-led offense. Something I love. I mean, guys off the street could go jump in this offense and probably become a top 24 rusher. I could probably do it. Just kidding. But what I'm saying is, while Jerick McKinnon is nursing himself way back to health, Tevin Coleman could get you some early wins in the season and definitely be a nice sell high piece, or if not, just a great value at the running back position for people who are looking for more depth in these middle rounds. I think both my tight ends came off the board, which is kind of a drag. We'll see what... Ooh, no. You know what? I don't mind. even if this is a reach, I'm not taking any chances. Once it starts getting this low on the tight end position, I have to go out and get my guy, Vance McDonald, in the 7th. I do think I could probably get him at the 8.2 if I was paying attention to this team a little bit more closely. But given the commentary, I don't have the luxury of doing that. It's just a nice tip to do. Pay attention to this team, who he's already drafted. If he already drafted a tight end, then I could have definitely waited and gotten probably more value, maybe a Kenyon Drake. But given the news that he's been doing 50-50 splits with Kalen Ballage, it could be another running back cut by committee in Miami, which is definitely gross. Miles Sanders. Love that value there. A lot of news coming out of camp that Miles Sanders is going to be, is looking like the best running back in camp. And that comes as no surprise, right? Jordan Howard is definitely not versatile. They definitely spend some nice draft capital in Miles Sanders. And if he can definitely work his way into the RB1 in that offense, I definitely like his upside. Given the offensive line he's behind, definitely one of the top offensive lines in the league with a stout defense behind him, should get plenty of opportunities to run the ball and get some goal line work and definitely prove himself. So Miles Sanders going in the 8th round, great value for you guys for looking for more depth at the running back position. I love running backs. I feel like you can never have enough. Christian Kirk was another guy I was looking to target. Lamar Miller's value definitely kind of tanks here with the signing of Duke Johnson. Someone you also want to keep in mind, Duke Johnson is a great pass-catching asset that the Houston Texans acquired, probably going undrafted or very late in drafts. So if you want to pick him up as just some extra value in your PPR redrafts or best ball leagues, it makes a lot of sense to me. He's going to have some nice value. Even in half-point PPR, he's going to have a nice safe floor, maybe gets you a touchdown as a flex option or a bye week fill-in. I love that value there. Like I said, I'll try to bring him up when he gets picked, but I don't think he'll probably till maybe the 15th round. Latavius Murray is kind of a handcuff option, but definitely has some standalone value. If Alvin Kamara ever got hurt, he could definitely be a solid RB2 for your team. Just some food for thought in those redraft leagues or teams looking for extra value. Oh, there's my guy, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan going in the 8th. Didn't quite make it back to me. But we still got a great quarterback in Baker Mayfield. I love that if we can make it back to us. Currently at the 9.3. Who else are we looking at? MVS makes a lot of sense. A tall wide receiver who runs a 4.3 40 in offense led by Aaron Rodgers. Definitely some boomer bust potential, but in those best ball leagues, that's someone I'm willing to take a shot on. And if you're in a redraft format and they kind of have, bonus points for big plays, definitely someone who's going to make a lot of sense to you. If you want more safety, Geronimo Allison is playing out of the slot, should get more volume and be a safer pick for you. But MVS definitely has that big playability, something I like because we all know Aaron Rodgers is known for his Hail Mary, so definitely someone I'm looking for in DFS and best ball more than redraft, I guess you could say. Marvin Jones, Darius Guice, both injury concerned players. I'm not really looking to target either one. If I had to choose, Darius Guice would be the guy, just because his upside. Whenever you're drafting people, you always have to think about what if everything comes together perfectly? What's the ideal situation? And based on where they're getting drafted. I mean, if Darius Guice can take over that backfield, there's no amount of volume he couldn't have in that offense. Like, they have no offensive weapons. Yes, they have Adrian Peterson, who is still going strong at the age of 45 or however old he is, which is absolutely ridiculous. But if Darius Guice can get himself healthy, take over that pass-catching role and be that workhorse role, could be a nice steal for you guys in redraft. Someone to consider in these later rounds. for me, had to give myself a nice positional advantage getting out Baker Mayfield. I love him and OBJ coming together and the potential that they could have this year. Knowing that I am in a best ball format, you got to start 3 wide receivers. Taking in that consideration, I'm going to draft one of my players I was talking about earlier in Geronimo Allison. Whenever you have Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback and you have a wide receiver playing in the slot, he's going to be your check down valve. He should get a lot of targets. And he's definitely, news out of camp is he's been looking good. He already has that built-in chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. MVS, he was a rookie last year, so he definitely can take a step forward, but he has to kind of get that respect from Aaron Rodgers, show that he can take control and learn the playbook and learn those audibles. Cam Newton going in the 10th, one of these guys that I talked about earlier that could easily outproduce his current ADP, someone that I'm paying attention to. Yes, there's some concern with his throwing shoulder, but his legs give us a safe floor. So even if he's kind of rusty to start the gate, to start the season off, man, Cam Newton, look at where he's finishing every year. Basically automatically locked to finish as a top 5 quarterback because of that rushing upside. So definitely someone I'm looking to target maybe later in drafts if you just find a ton of value at the wide receiver and running back position and you don't end up picking a quarterback till the 9th, 10th round and Cam Newton's the only viable option there, go ahead and pull that trigger. Get your guy. His rushing ability should be safe enough for you guys. Some other viable options off the board. Considering this is a best ball league, not so much in redraft, because in redraft you should get basically one quarterback and forget about the rest. Just worry about your depth, right? But in these best ball formats, we have a little bit more depth to pay attention to. Jameis Winston as my second quarterback off the board. Don't mind that one bit so ever. Deshaun Jackson, kind of a boomer bust player, which brings me to the point Carson Wentz is definitely going overlooked this year. He looks like he's finally going to be healthy after a slew of injuries. If we remember, he's got all the upside in the world. Definitely some MVP type of caliber play. And if he can stay healthy, look for him to easily outproduce his ADP going in the late 10th round. Same with Jameis Winston. Now, normally Jameis goes a lot earlier because everyone's aware of how much he's going to have to pass in that Tampa Bay offense. So look at your scoring rules. If, interceptions aren't that big of a deal, they're not like minus four points for an interception. Jameis Winston is a guy that makes a ton of sense because of that volume he's going to have to put out. Now, he's not going to be the most accurate, but I like the volume. He's definitely someone who can put up big numbers. Yes, I think he'll definitely have an interception or two in those games, but if your scoring makes sense where interceptions are not penalized as much, definitely someone who makes sense as your QB2 or QB1, depending on your formats. Drew Brees, love the guy. He's been around for years. It's just going to a more run-oriented offense there with Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray. We've seen that last year. They did bring in a nice weapon for him in Jared Cook. So to see that kind of chemistry, I'm definitely interested in that. I don't know. I'm just not buying into the hype of Jared Cook and how much he'll be used. But they do need a second receiving weapon in that offense. So he could definitely be the guy, especially around the red zone. So definitely someone I'm paying attention to is Jared Cook, not so much Drew Brees. Another guy I love and I'm paying attention to is Dante Moncrief. He has solidified himself as the wide receiver 2 in that Pittsburgh offense, who we realize they just pass a butt ton. And given his value and that he's going to be the wide receiver 2 in that offense, sign me up all day. And this is, look at this. This is a very well-balanced team. some nice upside plays with some solid elite players to kind of stabilize everything. I think my team's making a lot of sense, and you're getting a lot of value. That's why I said I love drafting from the turn. I just think your draft just flows more naturally if you go a more balanced approach here. Kalen Balaj is someone that I talked about getting 50-50 reps. Well, you know what? If I was in redraft, I would do this all day. This makes too much sense. And in best ball, it kind of makes sense too. I mean, we're drafting for upside. But I got Melvin Gordon in the 4th, right? So getting Justin Jackson in the 12th round makes a lot of sense, especially if you're in those redraft formats. Get yourself a handcuff. That way, if he sits out 2-3 games, I got the primary beneficiary in Justin Jackson. I do love Austin Eckler. He has some nice standalone value, but the guy who's going to get the work around the goal line is going to be Justin Jackson. In half-point PPR formats, that's the guy I want. The guy who's going to get the work around the goal line. Austin Eckler or Justin Jackson in PPR format. Probably Austin Eckler, but he's going a lot earlier, so I might just take the value with Justin Jackson as well because he's serving nothing more than handcuff as of right now until we get more information. Just something, situation to monitor. Kiki, do you love me? QT, yeah, I do, but you got hurt pretty bad. It looked pretty serious. Something we need to pay attention to. Hopefully it's not too severe. Like I said, every year a Houston Texans wide receiver goes down, and right now it looks like Kiki, do you love me? QT, which means Will Fuller's ADP could definitely go up. Situation worth monitoring. Duke Johnson, like I said, great value for you guys going in the late 12th round. Going to be a nice PPR option coming into the Houston Texans backfield. Love that signing for him. They cut Dante Foreman, so everyone was hyped up about Lamar Miller. And a day later, a day or two later, whatever it was, Duke Johnson gets signed very quickly. So all of you Lamar Miller truthers, you might have something to worry about because Duke Johnson could definitely fight to take over that RB1 spot. If nothing else, he's definitely going to be involved in third downs in that passing game. So a situation I'm monitoring more closely because if he can take over that RB1 spot in Houston, he provides tremendous sleeper value as of right now because his ADP is so low. Excuse me. So 5 running backs, 5 wide receivers. Probably need more depth at QB and tight end as we're coming back up here. So which makes the most sense for us? Kirk Cousins, I love that value there. Pairing him up with Baker Mayfield, never a bad option. I'm not loving Josh Allen. Love his rushing ability. If he can take a step forward in the passing game, especially with the recent acquirement of John Brown, I mean, his best asset is throwing the ball deep. So John Brown and Josh Allen could definitely thrive together this year. Someone I'm liking a lot more in best ball and DFS formats than I am redraft because could definitely be more of a boom or bust than a consistent option. But that big playability for both players, yeah, I like the upside there. I'm going to probably go with Josh Allen just because Kirk Cousins, he would be the safer pick, right? But I'm drafting for upside. I think Josh Allen takes a step forward here, and his rushing ability is actually going to give me a safer floor. So that's what I'm going to do here. At the tight end position, I'm not seeing a whole lot. I'm not loving it. I might just go with old reliable Delaney Walker. Kyle Rudolph isn't bad. Trey Burton. I don't get the hype around Trey Burton. I mean, everyone thought he was going to be Kelsey 2.0 in Coach Nagy's offense. I just don't think either Trubisky trusts him or he's just not athletic enough to be the Kelsey 2.0 in that offense. I just haven't seen anything out of him or that offense to indicate that. But considering they are a vertically inclined offense, I don't mind him, being my backup. Definitely just not that excited about it. So that's where we're going to go here. All right, and let's take a look at our team. All right. So this is through 14 rounds. Like I said, I just want to give you guys a more accurate representation, not only for best ball, but for redraft. So I took a more redraft approach to this draft, and this is through 14 rounds. So I'm going to cut the video a little bit short than you normally see, just because in redraft, you don't have all this depth that we have in best ball formats. You normally don't see a bench, 18 deep. But so far, through 14 rounds, we have Baker Mayfield as our QB1, James Conner, Melvin Gordon, Julio Jones, T.Y. Hilton, Tyler Lockett as our wide receiver 3. Gotta love that. Vance McDonald as our value tight end, someone I love who could easily outproduce his ADP given all those vacated targets from Antonio Brown leaving the picture. Big athletic tight end with zero competition this year now that Jesse James is gone. I can't highlight this guy any more than I already have. I don't want to because I like his ADP where he's at. So if you guys aren't paying attention, great. If you guys are, Vance McDonald is the value play this year at tight end. I love him. Sony Michel is going to be our nice flex option. He's got a great offensive line in the New England Patriots. The Patriots always find ways to be one of those top scoring offenses each year. Even with Tom, old man Brady, he's going on, being 60 years old. He'll probably come out of the, huddle with a walker or something crazy and still be able to throw dots and touchdowns all over the field. But Sony Michel being a big part of that offense. Recent talk is that he's getting involved more in the passing game. Definitely love that for my PPR leagues and half-point PPR leagues. It's going to give us a safer floor now that he's actually getting involved. I mean, that basically has to do because of their lack of receiving options in that offense. So if they can get him more involved, makes a lot of sense, gives him some more upside and a safer floor for us. Someone you should not be sleeping on, someone to pay attention to in PPR and half PPR formats. Miles Sanders, kind of our breakout candidate here, just because the offensive line in the recent news out of camp that he's the best looking running back. That's not saying a lot given his competition, but considering there's so many, he could definitely take a big step forward and could be a big part of this offense. So, someone to monitor, someone I love given where he's going in drafts. 8th round, I think, is where I snagged him. Geronimo Allison, nice depth for us in that Green Bay offense. Their defense has never been that solid, especially their passing defense. So that always leads to Aaron Rodgers having to play catch up or, throw those Hail Marys, and Geronimo Allison could be one of those guys who takes a step forward in that offense this year to kind of help out Devontae Adams, shoulder the load. Dante Moncrief is going to be the wide receiver 2 in the Steelers' backfield, someone who's criminally underpriced and undervalued. I don't know if people don't know about the information or they're just not quite sold on him, but he was definitely someone who I thought was talented in that Colts offense, and now he's going to a team that passes the ball just as much, but he's going to have a bigger role doing it. They need the help at wide receiver, and Dante Moncrief could definitely be the guy. Justin Jackson's kind of a handcuff, but he also has some standalone value. If Melvin Gordon does not sign or he misses a couple games, I have my safety blanket, especially in these half-point formats, these best ball leagues. Justin Jackson should be the guy who sees a lot of that goal line work And if if Melvin Gordon does not sign, give me all the Hunter Henry, give me all the Keenan Allen, give me all these wide receiving options for the Chargers because they're going to have to pass a butt ton just to keep that offense going because what they're used to having in Melvin Gordon there. But he's going to be my safety blanket. Josh Allen, QB2 for me. Gotta love that. QB with plenty of upside. Safe rushing floor. Trey Burton, yuck. Traquan Smith, boomer bust play. Must have just auto-drafted for me as I was doing this commentary for you guys. Michael Gallup. Oh, John Brown. Hopefully I got that in time. Smart play. If you guys are ever in a rush, you can't quite hit draft, always hit the Q button. That way you're still getting your guy in situations like that. Pairing John Brown up with Josh Allen, so when they have those big plays or, breakout games, I love a little stack there. And going in the 16th round, gotta love that boomer bust potential, and especially in these best ball formats. So, like I said, guys, I wanted to take a more redraft approach in this best ball mock draft. I hope I gave you some nice information, not only on updated rankings, but some nice perspective if you're drafting on the turn, what kind of approach you should take. I think the balanced approach is going to just lead to a more successful draft like we had here. I definitely love that team, and I would not mind having it in basically